Jon Jones don't make more money than me in a week. Jon Jones makes more money than me when he fights. And that's it. Outside of that, he ain't getting what me and Chael getting from ESPN, The Volume, DraftKings, Total Wireless, Bro Sparks, Monster Energy. I mean, we over here eating. So that's just false. That's false.
Daniel Cormier says Jon Jones isn't delaying a fight with Tom Aspenol. He's outright quitting the sport.
He thinks with all of these tweets, he thinks he's having the greatest run on Twitter. What's really happening is he's cooking his own legacy right now. He's making a mockery of his legacy. Show me a great champion. A great from Jordan, Brady, Lemieux, Ali, Gretzky. Show me someone who acted like this in their final chapter. Show me someone who refused to play it forward.
Daniel Cormier didn't hold back when he declared that if Jon Jones refuses to fight Tom Aspenol, it's not just a delay, it's quitting. The former two-division UFC champion, known for his intense rivalry with Jones, claimed that if he were still the heavyweight champion, Aspenol would have already had his shot. Cormier emphasized that competitive fighters should be eager to test themselves, especially against someone as dangerous and skilled as Aspenol, and he simply doesn't understand Jones's current behavior.
He's beaten everybody. He went through the old guard, meaning he went through Vettori, he went through Shogun, he went through Rampage. He literally put all those guys in the rearview mirror, and then he moved on, and he hit Rashad. And then he hit Gustafsson, who was a new guy. Then he hit me, who was a new guy. Then he hit Anthony Schmidt, who's a new guy, and Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes. He hit them all. He put everybody back. Then he goes to heavyweight, beat Cyril. Then he went and put the old guard back with Stipe. He's beaten all of them. He's been constantly pushing back that next wave of challenger. But there's one more wave. Because no matter how many times you've done it before, there's a real possibility that at some point it catches up to you. Nobody gets out of this thing clean. Khabib did it. George St. Pierre had a fairy tale ending, but George St. Pierre still had moments where things didn't go great. George St. Pierre lost to Matt Serra. That sounds crazy, but it's hard to get through this thing clean. Jones has gotten through this thing clean longer than most people could ever imagine getting through this thing clean. But at the end of the day, there's another young up-and-coming guy that Tom deserves an opportunity to fight the greatest. If you're the greatest, you go fight him.
Since Aspenol won the interim heavyweight belt in November 2023, fans and fighters alike have anticipated a unification bout with Jones, who currently holds the undisputed title. However, things haven't progressed the way many expected. Despite UFC President Dana White stating that Jones agreed to the fight, Jon's recent social media activity paints a different picture. He hinted at vacating the title and showed little interest in the matchup, causing Aspenol to voice frustration and a desire to move on.
This is the only sport that I know of that you can have somebody hold your career back.
Yep.
I guess speak on that. Like, how frustrating is it? Because it's not like you're getting younger. You're only going to get older, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm quite lucky in that regard because I don't feel like I have a lot of miles on the clock, and the 32 is quite young for heavyweight.
Yeah,
so,
you're getting right in your prime.
I would definitely fight if I could.
Cormier, who retired in 2020, made it clear that he would have taken the fight without hesitation. From his perspective, being champion comes with the responsibility to defend against the top contender, and right now, there's no one more deserving than Aspenol. He explained that, for a competitor like himself, the idea of facing a strong, dangerous opponent would be motivating, not something to avoid. He sees Jones's current stance as uncharacteristic, considering his history of taking on all challengers.
The right thing is to go fight this kid. And if you beat him, which is a real thing in a real likely scenario, you can then stick it to everybody like you've done on so many different occasions and tell them about it. Nothing feels better to a guy like Jon Jones to be able to beat the guy that you thought was going to get him and then him going, what did I say to you? It's sweeter than any title or anything else you can give this man. But he's got to be willing to take that chance to go and fight this dude. Hey, could Tom Aspenol put him out? Absolutely. Tom Aspenol could put him out. He could shut his lights out. Because guess what? You can hit Jon Jones. He can be hit, but he's tough, and he has a great chin. He can be hit, though. And if he gets hit by that dude, a big guy like that who's fast, Tom could put him out right away. That's a real possibility. But there's also a possibility that Jones takes him deep into a fight that he's never, in a place where he's never been before, where Jones has lived. Jones has lived in those places, and he could drown Tom Aspenol. But we'll never know if this dude don't just fight or quit. Or quit. That's the truth. Not everybody gets to retire. Jon Jones will get to retire from fighting.
Though Cormier respects Jones's legendary career, he stressed that the situation doesn't align with the fighter's reputation. In Cormier's mind, a real champion doesn't shy away when the division needs clarity. Instead, they step up, unify titles, and silence doubters. He believes that if Jones were to defeat Aspenol, it would give him the satisfaction of proving everyone wrong, something Jones has done many times before.
But if he doesn't fight this guy, then that's just him quitting. There's one real fight for him, and he's not so old and washed up that he can't take it. So that's how I feel about that. We fought them all. I can tell you guys on good authority, if I was still fighting today and I was still the heavyweight champion and Tom Aspenol was the #1 contender, I would have already fought him. 1,000%. The mindset that I carried through my fight career, knowing how dangerous, it would have done nothing but excite me to see someone standing across the octagon that could potentially beat me or knock my ass out. That would have made me train harder, smarter, and be more prepared than I ever could have been. That's what that would have done to me. What it's doing to Jon Jones is very disturbing, and it's very hard for me to understand, because in my mind, this guy's a fighter, because I've seen him do it time and time again. I don't know. It's very, very, it's a very weird situation going on with this Jones thing.
But the scenario isn't so simple. According to Ariel Helwani, 3 key factors have made this saga more complicated. First, Jones reportedly demanded a massive payday to face Aspenol, numbers that are usually reserved for elite boxers. Surprisingly, the UFC agreed to the financial terms. Helwani revealed that despite this, Jones later backed away from the agreement, putting the matchup in jeopardy again.
What was it, 2 months ago now, 3 months ago? They got him the money. I'm not even going to call it money, because as I've said from the beginning, he always deserved millions upon millions of dollars. It's not money. It's what he's owed. It's what he's worked to achieve. But, you know, there was a back and forth. They got him that money. They finally got him that money. And he said yes. And then he said no. And since he said no, they've been trying to figure out a way to get him to do this fight. One last fight. He ain't budging. And he's been starting to give us some sort of indication, hints, that he is not interested. But right before 316, he gave us many indications. And when I say not interested, I don't mean not interested in fighting. I mean not interested in fighting Tom Aspenol specifically.
Second, Helwani noted that even with Jones's reluctance, the UFC is determined to make the fight happen. Dana White reportedly sees this as the fight that fans want and the one the division needs. However, Jones seems uninterested in cooperating, which could force the promotion to consider drastic measures, including stripping him of the title.
Giving you hints. He's done. He doesn't want to do this anymore. I spoke to the UFC a long time ago about what my future plans were. I haven't really worked out since my last fight in New York. Honestly, I believe it's been in the UFC's best interest to keep presenting me as the company's champion, not Tom. This idea of the TV deal has been brought up. This fight is pre-TV deal. New TV deal comes into play, so it's not really in their best interest. But anyway, I've been playing the role of company man by doing nothing at all. Jon, company man. Maybe the greatest contradiction of all time. The UFC has done more for Jon Jones than any fighter on the roster, and that includes Conor McGregor. They have bet backwards more for him than any fighter in the history of the sport. Lest we forget, around 7 years ago, they moved an event on Fight Week because he was not going to get cleared by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. They moved it to California. They have never done that for anyone. They probably will never do that again.
The third revelation Helwani offered was perhaps the most surprising. He said Jones still wants to fight, but not against Aspenol. This complicates things further, as it's rare for a reigning champion to refuse a bout with the #1 contender. If Jones continues to resist, the UFC may have no choice but to promote Aspenol to undisputed status and set up a new title defense against someone like Cyril Gane or Alexander Volkov.
He's not doing the right thing. He didn't do the right thing with the light heavyweight belt, and he sure as hell is not doing the right thing here because Tom Aspenol has been the guy long before he even fought Stipe Miocic. So remember that when you're comparing legacies. Remember that when he's talking about legacy, what will this do for his legacy? How will he be remembered as opposed to how GSP is remembered?
Adding to the chaos, Chael Sonnen made his own claims about the financial side of the situation. He stated that Jones asked for $12 million for the fight and the UFC agreed to that figure. Sonnen explained that if the deal went through, it would be the biggest paycheck in UFC history, surpassing even past stars like Brock Lesnar, Georges St-Pierre, and Ronda Rousey. He believes Jones hasn't officially turned down the bout, but might be using delay tactics to gain more leverage or simply biding his time.
Allegedly, the number that Jon wanted, and I believe that to be $12 million. Got my own sources. I don't believe that Jon's turned it down. Even though Ariel's confirmed it, even though that's believed in our industry, I do not believe that Jon Jones got a phone call matching Jon Jones's demands and he said no. And I do not believe that Jon Jones would play that game of chicken. Moreover, I don't believe that if he did, we wouldn't have heard about it. If they believe it, if it's to the point that they're ready to move on, it's to the point when they're done trying is when they go book a different fight for Tom.
Meanwhile, former middleweight champion and UFC commentator Michael Bisping provided a different angle. He suggested that the UFC might be purposely delaying the announcement to build anticipation. In his view, a fight this big deserves a massive promotional campaign, complete with press conferences and media tours. Bisping thinks the current silence could be a strategic move to maximize attention and hype when the fight is finally revealed.
Now, of course, this is one of the most highly anticipated fights in all of UFC history. And you can't just announce it, oh, the fight's going to happen. No.
That's stupid.
Fights of this magnitude, the UFC want to do a proper job. They want to announce it in a spectacular fashion. They want to have a press conference. They want the world's media there. They don't want someone on YouTube or whatever or on the phone just going, yeah, the fight's happening, right? Even when I was fighting my fights, I wasn't allowed to announce them. They wanted to announce them, as I say, in the proper way to make sure that all the world's media is there and it gets all the coverage that it deserves. This is the kind of fight that, of course, deserves that kind of attention. This is a fight the world are crying out for, and this is a fight that it seems like we are going to see.
I told you guys already, we'll get Aspenol versus Jones done. The heavyweight fight will happen. Just relax.
Bisping's theory is partially supported by UFC commentator Jon Anik, who recently hinted at a possible timeline. He suggested that the UFC could be targeting December in Las Vegas for the fight between Jones and Aspenol. While Anik clarified that this wasn't confirmed information, he felt optimistic based on ongoing discussions within the UFC. However, that scenario is only possible if Jones doesn't get stripped of the belt before then.
John, does Aspinall and Jones happen in 2025? What's your gut tell you?
Yeah, I think we see it December 2025. T-Mobile Arena, Dateline, Las Vegas.
Not New York. Why not New York?
Well, Jon Jones fought and won at Madison Square Garden in New York last November. I'm a Boston guy. Place a fucking dump. No, I mean, he checked that box. I'm not sure what the taxes are. But why does Jon Jones need to fight at Madison Square Garden? Why not fight at T-Mobile Arena in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada? You guys fucking live there. No? I don't know.
The tension escalated further when Jones clapped back at Cormier and Sonnen. Jones mocked them on social media, saying that despite their criticism, he earns more in a week than they do in a year. Cormier didn't stay silent. He responded in a YouTube video pulling back the curtain on what he knows. He claimed he was once offered a coaching role alongside Jones in Thailand and revealed that he knows how much Jones made for the event. Cormier argued that while Jones might make more during fight weeks, he's still doing well financially and, importantly, still benefiting from their historic rivalry.
It seems as though Jon Jones does not like being talked about by two of the biggest voices in this game. I'm gonna pull the curtain back for you guys. I know what Jon Jones made in Thailand. I was offered to coach this show with Jon Jones. Jon Jones's resume is impeccable. Jon Jones's star power, his ability to sell, matches up with anybody in the business. But guess what? Daniel Cormier's resume matches up with anybody in the business. Daniel Cormier brings eyes like people in the business. He's got me talking in third person. Jon Jones don't make more money than me in a week. Jon Jones makes more money than me when he fights. We over here eating. The biggest paydays you ever had were tied directly to me.
Cormier pointed out that many of Jones's biggest paydays came from fighting him, and now he's being paid to talk about Jones, something he considers fair given his role as a commentator. Still, he emphasized that while he talks, Jones is supposed to be fighting, and that's what is missing here. He believes Jones is focusing too much on irrelevant conversations and not enough on doing what's right for the division. The situation feels odd to Cormier, given how much of a warrior Jones has been in the past.
Together. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, I'm talking about you. And I'm talking about you and I'm getting paid to talk about you. But I don't fight no more because all I can really do is talk. That's what I do. You fight. Or at least you're supposed to fight. You're talking about me. You're talking about Francis. You're talking about Chael. And almost ignoring the right thing. You can then stick it to everybody like you've done on so many different occasions and tell them about it. I can tell you guys on good authority, if I was still fighting today and I was still the heavyweight champion, and Tom Aspenol was the #1 contender, I would have already fought him, 1,000%. Knowing how dangerous, it would have done nothing but excite me. I mean, this dude, Jon Jones, still talking. Come on.
Moreover, Frank Mir acknowledged the dangers posed by Aspinall's striking and knockout capability, but maintained that Jones's grappling expertise and positional control would likely be the deciding factors. In Mir's view, Jones has already cemented his legacy and has little to gain by risking it against a dangerous rising contender. He interpreted any hesitation from Jones not as fear, but as a rational assessment of risk versus reward.
I think Tom might have the best chance of anybody to beat Jon right now. But that being said, I still think Jon wins the fight just because of his wrestling. I think he puts, Tom on his back and is able to nullify his jiu-jitsu from being top position with his elbows and control. What does Jon win to take that fight? He goes out there and beats Tom. Is it really going to make or break his career? I don't think anybody cares.
In contrast, Marcin Tybura suggested the delay in finalizing the fight isn't due to uncertainty or avoidance. Instead, he believed the timing is part of a calculated strategy by the UFC and both fighters to heighten anticipation.
It's crazy to think what this guy is capable of and how quick that was, and where is the roof? That's the only question. Who can stop him right now? I cannot tell. I know, Jon Jones in his prime time maybe, but now he's might be a little bit older than, the skills might be not there. So I don't know. It's crazy where he's going to.
Curtis Blades leaned slightly toward Aspinall as the favorite, giving him a modest edge, yet he was quick to temper that with the reality of facing a fighter as seasoned and adaptable as Jones.
Do you think Aspinall beats him?
Yeah, I would pick him. Like, I would go 55% him. Obviously, it's not gonna be a landslide. Like, we're going against Jon Jones. He's a legend. He's got all the weapons.
Rashad Evans, who has shared the cage with Jones, took a more introspective stance. He recognized the immense pressure that comes with preserving a long-standing reputation and legacy. While he appreciated Aspinall's momentum and growing reputation, Evans sympathized with Jones's possible reluctance, interpreting it as a mature consideration of his career rather than avoidance of a challenge.
All right, last thing. Jon Jones, Tom Aspenol, who you got?
I got Jon Jones. I think Tom Aspenol is a man, but I feel like, Jon Jones is just another level. He can do it in so many different ways with his striking, with his grappling, and I feel like, being in a situation, coming in a fight where he's kind of being pushed into this point, I feel.
Tom's a big boy.
Yeah, but I feel like with Jon's a big boy too, and Jon knows how to fight like a big boy. Right. One thing I feel like what Tom does really well is he moves so well, and I feel like that may give Jon a little bit of trouble, but I feel like Jon is smart enough to figure it out.
Cain Velasquez focused on the stylistic elements, noting Aspinall's strengths in movement and power, but also pointing out a tendency toward predictability. He believed that this would allow a cerebral and strategic fighter like Jones to take control, methodically breaking down Aspinall's rhythm and exploiting vulnerabilities with precise timing and preparation.
What do you think of Tom?
Great, obviously, champion of the world. Amazing, he's beaten some tough guys to get there.
You think he beats Jon Jones?
No, I don't think he does.
Why not?
So me just watching him, I kind of see his pattern a little bit and his striking, the way he comes in and strikes. And I think Jon sees it too. Jon's studies, man. He does his homework, He's a master at this. He's gonna know what to do. So I don't think he beats Jon. No. The simple fact is the way Tom, he doesn't have a pattern that's somewhat easier to to find when he comes in and strikes. And I think you know what we're talking about. You know, a lot of things come with that. It's disguising your pattern. It's throwing fakes here and there before. But when he comes to attacks, he comes in and attacks. It's 100% full go. You know, he comes in, glides in, lunges in, and does his attack. Again, not that it's not effective. It is. You know, he's done great things with it. Type of guy that Jon Jones is, I think he studies them and he beats them because of that.
Georges St-Pierre offered a broader view, noting the inevitability of physical decline as athletes age. While he held Jones in high regard as one of the sport's all-time greats, he acknowledged that Aspinall's youth and explosiveness could pose serious problems, especially if Jones is no longer at his physical peak. However, St-Pierre still saw potential for Jones to rise to the occasion, particularly if motivated by legacy or financial stakes.
Ever lives, you know, talk about if I have to choose someone in his prime that I put in the Coliseum hand to hand, I think I would be Jon Jones. You know, it's hard to deny that. However, nobody beats time, and Tom Aspenol is on a hell of a run now. So it's to see how they get a match. You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. As a fan, I want to see this fight. I would like to see this fight, but I think Tom is very hungry. And
Arman Serukian highlighted Jones's ability to dictate range and pace as a key factor. He envisioned a tactical approach in which Jones would avoid reckless exchanges and instead control distance, frustrating Aspinall's attempts to mount an aggressive offense and gradually shifting the fight in his favor by forcing errors.
Who do you see as the #1 pound-for-pound guy in the UFC right now? Is it Makhachev? Is it somebody else?
Of course, it's a Jon Jones.
Jon Jones?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We got to get him fighting Tom Aspenol maybe this summer.
Yeah, that's the fight everybody wants to see, even me. And because young guy versus like GOAT and real like heavyweight, so I feel like it's gonna be hard for Jon Jones.
Israel Adesanya echoed this sentiment, particularly emphasizing the importance of early grappling exchanges. He suggested that if Jones could secure control early and slow the tempo, he would sap Aspinall's energy and deny him the kind of dynamic, fast-paced exchanges where he excels. Adesanya viewed Jones's ability to manipulate pace as a crucial tool in neutralizing Aspinall's explosiveness.
Yeah, Aspinall, Jon Jones. If that does happen.
I don't know, man, but Aspinall, the way he dispatched over
the Russian guy,
oh my God, but he's the same height as me, if not an inch taller, but thick.
Yeah.
The speed,
yeah,
that's the thing that I'm like, okay, that's the danger. But again, grappling, he's a black belt.
Leg belt, who gives?
Jon is,
it's different.
They gotta fight, but if they don't ever fight, we'll never know.
All in all, what started as a routine title unification conversation has turned into one of the most complex and unpredictable storylines in recent UFC history. With big money involved, public pressure rising, and multiple voices weighing in, the outcome remains uncertain. What's clear is that the UFC can't wait forever. Whether Jon Jones returns to unify the title or walks away, the heavyweight picture will shift dramatically, and possibly very soon.